So I'm looking to do a spread for the upcoming year, 2025. I don't know if I'm going to post this or not. I did a 2025 reading a few months ago using different decks. And I figured, why not try, as it is less than 2 weeks away, why not try to do one tonight? The idea just kind of popped into my mind. I am using the Thoth deck today, and I've been playing around with this deck for a few months and trying to get a feel for it. I like it. I like the art. I feel like I really connect with it. So I want to see, I think it does a really good job at the moment for talking to me about my own issues. So I'm kind of curious about how it can communicate to me about worldly issues. So the idea here that I'm going to do at first a 12 card spread, so that one card per month. I know it's very simplified, but I kind of want to just get an overall sense of what is going on this upcoming year. And then if I need to clarify things, I will pull other cards, but this is where we're going to start. And just to give you a little background into my process, I shuffle my cards until I feel something. And when I am pulling tarot cards, I feel something in my jaw. This is how I know when to stop shuffling. It's also how I know which card to select. And so I am just shuffling my cards, and I'm going to go silent for a little bit as I concentrate on the question, just to make sure that, the intent of what I'm trying to do here is clear. All right. Let me show you a little bit about my process. So I fan out the cards, and then I'm gonna pull the 12 cards. I'm not gonna look at them. But that's the order of things. I don't look at them and then pull another card until the end. Like, I don't want to look at the first card and then be influenced by that. It's gonna affect me, the psyche. It's gonna be affected. So I keep all the cards face down until I'm ready to actually read. We're gonna do it this way. I should check how many cards I've pulled. I kind of lost count. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's what I thought. One more. I felt something, I lost it. So this process, shuffling the cards and then fanning them out, this is the process. I don't learn it from anyone. It's what I've been doing since I was like 16, 17. It's just what made sense to me with my first card deck. And it's what I have always done. I'm going to put the rest of the cards away, unless we need some clarifiers, but I'm going to put them to the side. And the cards are in the order that I selected them. So let's do this. And I hate editing, so I'm going to try to like keep this succinct. Yeah, let's go for this. All right, interesting. We have the first card, January. Can you see this? This is the 9 of discs, and in this card, it's called the Gain card. And this is a my light is like so hard here. It is a Venus in Virgo card. Venus about values. And to me, Virgo is about like, people think about like analytics, and kind of process and things like that. And I think this is about, you've done the work in a way, like there is some material gain, there's some like improvement, perhaps. This is a really great card. There's also, it's really hard with the lighting, but there is, Venus is on top. There's a Saturn glyph as well. Saturn being very much the bones and structure. Overall, I feel like if this is a card that's representing January, this is a pretty good January. This is like a very nice start. Okay, let's see what else we have. So interesting. We have the Queen of Swords. First, I want to make sure you can see this, because this card is really quite something. Because in one hand, she has her sword, right? And it's like in this weird like position. And then she's got a head. Kind of like focus on the head. She's holding the head of something, of someone. And so, this is someone who, in some ways, let me think about how I want to say this. Swords is all about thoughts. And this is someone who I would like to think is able to conquer her thoughts. But we could take this a little bit more literally and think about where we're going to be in February. And will there be people who become headless? I don't know. but there is this, she is a very no bullshit kind of queen. She will let the heads roll. So interesting. I don't know if the queen is representing a person or a country, or just like the vibe. Overall, I think that this is like a very strong card. Like I like this card when it shows up for me. It's not a bad card at all. Okay, March. March, we have the Hermit card. Okay, so the Hermit card, we have, if you think about the Hermit, and again, this card is a little bit abstract, but this is his face and he's holding this light, and this light is enlightenment, right? It's giving knowledge. So there is something that the Hermit, if one is a hermit, let's say this, if you are inhabiting the Hermit card, this is something where in order to be a true hermit, right, like you are by yourself. And I feel like a lot of people conflate being by yourself as lonely. Like those are different things. You can be lonely in a crowd, right? Like being by yourself doesn't correlate to loneliness. But this is something where, this man, he is perhaps dealing with some demons, and his light is yet to shine onto these eyes. Is maybe one way of seeing this. Another way of thinking about this card is kind of the labor that one has to take in order to achieve enlightenment. And again, that labor, that day-to-day, this card is associated with Virgo. So this kind of like processing again. So Virgo energies keep showing up, interestingly enough. Okay, let me see where things go. Oh my God. So April, we have the Universe. And this is a very lovely card. And it is, we have this this woman who's basically being enraptured, or having, let's say, a great connection with the snake that represents transformation, right? Like this is like next level things. And what's interesting about this card is that it's ruled by Saturn, right? So again, if I'm going to focus on this like snake bit, right? And snake representing transformation that's related to Saturn is something that, again, comes from this like daily grind. Like I'm getting a lot of daily grind things. There's, so far 2 cards reference Saturn, 2 cards represent Virgo, or calling to Virgo. So that's interesting to me. Again, this is a very positive card. It's also the end of the major arcana. So it is kind of saying that there is like a culmination point. Something is coming to a head. And I think it's around this time that we start the dance, astrologically speaking, of Neptune going into Aries, and then Saturn's going to follow into Aries, and it's doing this little dance in 2025 starting in the spring, and then it will pop back into Pisces. But the spring of 2025 is going to be brand new. We're getting, and Uranus is also going to be changing into Gemini. I think a little bit later. I don't have it all memorized, but starting in April and by June, it is all the outer planets are going to be in different signs. And to me, that's kind of what this represents. It's like it is the end of a cycle. There is this newness. Something is being transformed. Something is changing in the air. Okay, so then next we have for May, the Princess of Cups. And this is kind of like an underwater scene, and she is surrounded by fish and a turtle, and it's a very serene type of vibe. And to me, when I think about the Princess of Cups, I think about this concepts around empathy and being in touch with nature. She is surrounded by all these animals. And so there is something about like being, how do I want to say this? There is something calming about this card. There is something in which she is peaceful. And so perhaps, there is something from the transformation that brings us to this state of receptivity, of peacefulness, perhaps serenity. Oh my God. So June, first bad card, failure. We got our first bad card. So this is the 7 of discs, and this is a Saturn in Taurus card. Again, Saturn appears once again. This is its third appearance here. And again, Saturn is structures. It is our bones, our skeletons. It is the daddy card. It is responsibility. So it's not a fun card. And when we think about this card of failure, it doesn't have to be like that you yourself are a failure, but it's kind of like you had these plans and you didn't think about something, and now you're off course. Now there's something going awry. Like, it's kind of like when you're on autopilot and then you're following like Google Maps. You know how like Google Maps can just take you down a wrong road, and then you're like going down that wrong road, and you're like, it must get better at some point. And then you realize, I made a mistake. I actually need to turn around. Like, that's what this card is kind of giving me. So here we have this Saturn in Taurus card. Taurus, fixed energy, can be a little bit stubborn. Saturn's also kind of stubborn. It is it's not the fun planet of the party. So yeah, if you're in like a fixed sign, you don't want to reverse. You don't want to go back. You don't want to change. Like change is kind of hard. So that's my feelings on this. June is going to be a difficult month. I also feel like there's something in June. Maybe June is when Uranus pops into Gemini. I'll need to double check on that. But June is looking like a very tenuous month, let's say. Okay. July. Well, July looks a lot better. July now we have the Sun card. So this is very bright, it's very sunny. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, hopefully you'll see the sun in July. And the sun is like the source of our energy. It's radiance, it's brilliance. You got these like happy cherubs just like rejoicing in the sun. So there is something, our whole life can't be like this, right? It would be boring, right? So there's something in which we have worked through the failure and have resulted in perhaps a better place, a sunnier place. There is light, there is energy, there is movement, there is unity. It's hard to see in this light, but all around the sun are the depictions of the zodiac sign. It's really, this lighting is not the best. I did not plan for this, but trust me on that word. Yeah, so, June looks difficult. July is a little bit better, or a lot better. Next card. So we are now on August. We have the moon, which is quite interesting. Because again, the sun, there's really nothing bad about the sun, right? Like this is very radiant. Now we got the moon. And the moon is a bit of more, it's a difficult card, certainly in comparison to the sun. And the moon deals with our subconscious. It's often about dealing with things that are under the surface, and trying to figure that out, trying to work through why are we acting a certain way, why are we feeling a certain way. I think, yeah, so I would say that probably in August, there is something that likely will be a little bit difficult, or unsettling, or just something that requires that like we will need time to process. It's really interesting that there's this, once we get to June, there's kind of this oscillating back and forth of like good and challenging cards. Now we are in September, and we're back to a really, like, one of my favorite cards, which is the happiness card. This is I believe it's a Jupiter. Yeah, Jupiter in Pisces. my Jupiter's in Pisces. This is just, all the cups are overflowing into the other cups, right? This is great. This is, things are flowing, things are progressing. When I look at this card, I always think about just like cupcakes or just like all those little desserts that you want to eat, right? Like this is just deliciousness. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say there. I mean, maybe the thing to connect these two things, which I did not say, is that the moon card, if I can like get my lighting correct. The moon card is ruled by Pisces. All my lights are like going low. I don't know what's happening. They're all just like fucking dimming at the same time. But there is like a Pisces glyph right here. And when you're dealing with Piscean energy, that is something that can be about, again, the subconscious, the unconscious, the unknown, the deep feelings for which you have no words for. And so this is also a Piscean card, and Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces. And so when you think about Jupiter, you think about excess. This is excess, exuberance, and I mean also like higher knowledge and the pursuit of expansion, philosophy, things like that. So there is something where whatever difficulty we're being met in August, like we're moving to this space, which, it's hard to know whether it's like a superficial space or if this is like, are we actually happy or are we just like overindulging? I want to say that this is like, in general, I like to view this as like a very good card, a very positive card. But there is that side of Pisces that Pisces can be very into drugs and, is this happiness drug induced or is it like soul centered? We shall see. We shall see. All right, October. We are now at the Knight of Cups. And the Knight of Cups is a knight that is in action. His horse is like, his horse doesn't even have any feet on the ground. He is moving. He is in pursuit of something. And, I always think about the Knight of Cups as someone who's like suave and perhaps romantic or just sexually charged. So, someone maybe that likes to hook up a lot. Like I think that's what the Knight of Cups is very into. So again, like I think that this is a good continuation. We're going from the Ten of Cups, water, to, again, more water, the Knight of Cups. And this is a pretty good card. November. Okay, again, there's this oscillating back, forth. November, we have what I think is one of the worst cards of the deck. I mean, it's interesting that we're getting like two of the worst cards. Like the worst cards are showing up here. 10 of Swords. This is the Ruin card. I don't know of any deck where this is like a happy card. Maybe you can tell me. Yeah, this card always, you know, again, it's a 10. So it's representing like the end of a line. Swords is about our thinking. This is really like the exhaustion that we have. If you think about the swords as different thoughts, we got all these fucking different thoughts centered to us, like inward, and they're going, it's not cohesive, but we've exhausted ourselves. Like we are in some sort of rut. So again, like it's good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Let's see where we end in December. So in December, we have this Knight of Wands. The Wands are all about action, right? They are correlated to the fire signs in astrology. And so it's similar to the Knight of Cups. This card, he's in action. He is moving. He is, you know, there is something going on. And yeah, so let me see if I can show you the cards. And can you see all of them? Okay. So I would say overall, my overall take here is this. A few points. Saturn appears several times. We have Saturn in January. There's a Saturn glyph in June. There's a Saturn glyph in April. The major arcana cards, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 major arcana cards. So 4 out of the 12 cards that were selected are major arcana. And my view is that the more major arcana cards there are, the more emphasis, or the more important that time is that the reading's referencing. So, and the months in which we see the major arcana cards, so we have March, April, July, and August. My overall take on this is that the first, I'm trying to think about how I want to say this. I don't mind the Hermit card. Like, the Hermit card to me doesn't scare me, but I think this probably scares a lot of people because they have a hard time being by themselves. I mean, we saw that during the COVID crisis. But let me say this in a very basic way. in which I say difficult and good cards, which again, I don't like using that term, but let me just think about it in this way. These two cards, January, February, are a little bit easy. March is harder. April, May, a bit easier. June, hard. July, easier. August, hard. September, easier. October, easier. November, hard. December, easier. So point being is that there's an oscillation. It's not the same thing all year. We are going to be, I think, dealing with a lot of difficulties. What those difficulties are, I have no idea what they are. I really just asked for kind of general energies of what is going on here. The other thing that I'm trying to think about is, so we have the sun card, right? And the sun can be our identity, our source of energy, and so forth, right? So we have the sun card in July, and then the sun is referenced again in this ruin card. This is a sun in Gemini card. So it makes me wonder again about whether there's a link here, whether they're talking to about the same thing. And then you think about the moon and the sun, just like the moon relates to the sun. You think about all the moon phases, and it's just interesting that they got pulled next to each other. Yeah, I'm just thinking, I have, when I look at the core cards, some readers will try to associate them with people, and they feel like that's easier to do when you're giving a reading for a person and they're asking about a particular person. But here, when I am talking and trying to get just a general sense of 2025, it's hard to know who is this Queen of Swords. Is this essentially what's going on with the Republican Party, in that they are willing to just take off the heads, metaphorically, of people that are against them? Maybe. And maybe that's what causes people to go a little inward and be a little bit of a hermit. And maybe by being a hermit, we end up realizing something, or coming to the culmination of something. There's something that we realize or we go through, there's a culmination point. But by the time we hit summer, I think the difficulties of whatever it is that we're dealing with, I think it becomes clear that we're in a little bit of a crisis. And, I think it's going to be something, when we think about discs are about, I always think about discs as material things. It doesn't have to be material things, but it is certainly things that are relating to the earth realm, the physical realm, in my opinion. So I don't know, if this is representing like crop failures, is this representing market failures in June? There's something that, again, Saturn comes around and teaches us lessons. That's why people don't like Saturn, because it's a lesson giver. But we learn from it. But there's something, to me, I feel like there is this crisis in June that appears. And the Moon card is just so perplexing to me. It is a bit of a paradox, just because it is something that is, it's like you feel like something is not right, but you don't know why it's not right. And within the Moon card, we do have, it's hard to see, we have, I don't know what this tool is called, but I believe that it's probably like a Native American tool in which the bones go around the sun. So there is this, again, like reference to the sun a few times in this spread as well about identity. Again, is it the identity of countries? Is it the identity of like what we stand for humans, or like what's acceptable? But I get the picture here in 2025 that we're going to be going through some big things, that there's going to be some major changes and also some ends of cycles. But again, ends of cycles are the beginning of another cycle. And it's not met with all bad cards. I mean, what's really interesting is the fluctuation of good and bad things, which maybe in general, that just suggests that maybe depending on where you are in the world or in society in general, the way that you experience 2025 is going to be different. There may be people who, similar to COVID, when we went through COVID, people had different experiences of COVID depending on whether they were able to work from home or not, or whether they had kids or not. Like, their initial conditions certainly affected how they experienced the pandemic and the trauma, let's say, that they experienced or not, because of those conditions. And to me, I wonder if that's also what's going on here, is like there's something that is uncontrollable, just like COVID, but depending on where you are with money, with property, with whatever, that will certainly impact if you like how you sustain it or how you weather through it. But this also, for me, aligns with kind of my predictions on the astrology of 2025, which I don't think is, I think it's like a transformational time. I don't think it's an easy time. I think And whenever we go through something transformational, that requires change. It requires, in order for us to grow, we have to change. We have to go through something. And that's what I feel like with this spread. This is not suggesting like we are on one path and we are stagnant in any way. I don't get that at all here. I get that there's an issue, different approaches and different solutions are tried, and it's kind of this like, will this work? Maybe that works for a few weeks, and then does this work? Maybe. So I feel like there's a lot of like, get the sense of experimentation. I get the sense of just uncertainty and learning to deal with that uncertainty. I get the sense of exhaustion. But there's also like just so much hope and, radiance and happiness. There is this like verve of life that I think comes through in this reading, that despite fucking really challenging cards, failure and ruin, in addition to the moon, which is, the moon is something that's kind of difficult to work through, we have this happiness, and we have, at the end of the year, these 2 nights that are just like charging through with action, with purpose, and going through whatever it is. But I see these as like beacons also of like, I don't know if these are specific people or entities that are moving us forward. They are in action going forward and bringing us, to a state of like, or working towards like emotional resilience and learning to take corrective action. So that is my read. It is a year of hard knocks that we learn from, and we find solace and purpose through struggles. That's my take. I hope you enjoyed this. Assuming I put this up